Next one, Mackenzie, your 5-way.
I believe I told you guys in pre-production that my 5-weight was on the Saints, which is incorrect. It's on the Commanders. My handicap is on the Saints and just how terrible they are without Derek Carr. I think if you ask most people how Derek Carr is doing this year, they'll give you an answer that's between, incorrect and, a little off. He's actually 8th in our PFF QBR composite, and their offense with him is +7 EPA per game. Top 10 in the league, not terrible. They have obviously started out with 2 amazing games in weeks 1 and 2, but without him, they're 28 points worse if you just look at EPA on non-turnover line of scrimmage plays. I don't care if it's Jake Haener. I don't care if it's Spencer Rattler. I don't think the market, it moved 4 points from 3.5 to 7.5. Again, it's a 28-point difference. If you look at the metrics, I don't think it's enough.
We're certain
so I will take the Commander.
95%.
It's 95%. They did say, where there's 3 quarterbacks we're looking at, but these 2 guys, he talked more about the 2 guys that I think are actually potentially going to start.
Mm-hmm. I think quarterback handicap, probably accurate. We've been worrying about Washington, right? Because is their quarterback healthy? And the fact that Jaden Daniels off the bye,
yep.
I think that allays my fears that if he has had a lingering rib issue, he should be 100% final.
And I was worried about the Cliff Kingsbury's offenses fading in the second half, but his best game for Daniels and the offense was arguably their last game, December 1st, 42-19 against the Titans.
That's the whole question here, right? We have multiple years, 4 years, of a swoon in the second half, later in the year, obviously, in Arizona. Was that the Arizona, weather? Was that Kyler Murray? Was that, I don't know, right? But then for a number of games, we saw the same thing with Washington. So to me, to take one game and say, oh, okay, it's no longer the case, that just isn't good thinking. I think it in a Bayesian sense, it's a nice little step in that direction, saying that maybe it's not a factor, but I don't think one game can possibly tell you that. But I think that's the question of the game.
And we do have to be concerned. The Saints they should know they're dead, but I don't think they know they're dead yet. So off the win, I think they still feel they've got something to play for.
Remember, Pacino and Carlito's way. You got a dream, baby.
Take your word for it.
You never saw Carlito's way?
I did not.
Ooh.
I could look at Alvin Kamara unders in this game. It seems like a lot of people want to bet his props over, and there is an adjustment. His line has typically been 77.5 rushing yards. It's down to 76.5 rushing yards.
Oh, I like that under. That's a huge number for a 7.5-point dog.
In the 4 games with Rizzi as the coach, he's gone under in 3 of 4 of those games. He's averaging 69.5 yards per game in those 4 games, but that's because the one game that he went over, he had over 100-something yards. He went over 76.5 in the first 3 games of the year, and then the only other times he went over that number was against Carolina in Week 9, the worst rushing defense in the NFL, and the game against the Rams in Week 13. The number is still high. Alvin Kamara is a name brand, but when it comes to tackling, the Commanders have the 4th lowest missed tackle rate in the NFL. Alvin Kamara is generating one of the lowest missed tackle rates in the NFL. I don't think he gets the extra yardage, so let's go under Kamara.
What's Kamara's contract situation?
Let's see.
Because I don't know if I would, I listen sometimes.
2-year deal he signed, and that was, he's under contract. There is a potential out after this season, but if not, he's not a free agent until 2027.
Yeah, it's a $26 million dead cap if they want out, though.
Yeah.
So probably on for a couple of years.
No, because, there was talk of trading him, right, a while back. Then I don't know if I dreamt this, or if it was a podcast I fell asleep to, but I thought that they made some kind of commitment to him just in the last couple weeks.
To Kamara?
Yeah.
No,
yeah.
What you might be referring to is the backup, Kendry Miller.
No.
Okay, because Darren Rizzi said, because last week he was activated off IR, and Rizzi famously in New Orleans circles, Kendry Miller, the backup running back, was in the doghouse under Dennis Allen. Like, he hated him for some reason. And Darren Rizzi in a press conference said, we're going to let that dog off the leash. Like, we're going to – and you know what? They got into the red zone. They gave him a couple of red zone carries, and he scored a touchdown last week. So if you cash that at plus 425, congratulations. But I think the backup gets more involved, and that will lead to unders for Kamara.
So, Mackenzie, other than saying, hey, I think the big favorite is better, this is a play that's about the quarterback situation for the Saints?
Yes, I think they went from a pretty bad team, or maybe even an average team, to like the worst team in the league with a bullet for 3 weeks. I don't think it was just kind of
worst
coincidence.
team in the league with a bullet. What games are we talking about?
So it was week 6, 7, and 8. They lost 51-27 against Tampa. They had a couple punt return touchdowns.
Just give me the score. That's
51-27. So they lost by 24, and I think they got lucky to lose by 24. They lost by 23 to the Broncos, scored a late touchdown, was worse than that. And then they lost 26-8 at the Chargers.
So was there any games that their opponent scored a late touchdown this season?
In those 3 games, I'm sure there was.
Would the offense be the only issue with the quarterback?
Fair enough, yes.
So how many points did they score?
They scored 45 points in 3 games.
Okay, so that's not great.
So what's their team total? Take a look at the team total. Maybe go under Saints team total, Mackenzie?
I like it. Yeah. I am fading the Saints, and that's the best way to get at it. I think you're right.
What do you guys see?
I'm trying to pull it up now.
All right, so Fez, you're going to have the next one, and it's going to be your 4-way. So get it all lined up.
17.5, by the way, for the Saints.
Oh, I like that number.
You like that under, RJ?
Well, I just like the number, right?
Yeah.
17. Then there's nothing that really matters.
It does feel like RJ, doesn't it feel like we won with Carolina under 16.5?
I didn't bet that.
And it was like it's like once you go below 17, you gotta hold your opponent to 10 because you're always vulnerable to that last 7, right?
Well, I think that was Tampa Bay against the Bills, if I recall. We had a situation like that.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. All right. So what's your 4-way?